Hey, it's your Pan African World Diaspora Champion, Trish Adora, and you are watching O-Face Wrestling.
Hey guys, it's your girl Red Velvet, and you are watching O Face Wrestling.
Hola todos, soy la fashionista Roche Chanel, and you're watching O Face Wrestling. Smooches!
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to O-Face Wrestling. This is your host JT, and today I am joined by the Glamorous Amaris Blair. So thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, no problem.
So Amaris, I'm really excited to learn about your career and your training and everything like that. So I just could start with the beginning. So what inspired you to want to become a professional wrestler?
So I've been I guess around wrestling my entire life, playing like video games when I was really young. And I started like really watching it whenever I was like 10 or 11. And I was just really fascinated by CM Punk, which is funny, but he was like my main inspo for wanting to be a wrestler. And then like the divas and stuff like that, like back then, obviously they were just like bathroom breaks. So I saw them and I was like, I want to do so much more than what they're allowed to. And so that was like, really what inspired me to do what I'm doing now.
So you got into wrestling around like the what they call the PG era, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot
Yes.
of like Zack Ryder and CM Punk and all of that stuff.
Yeah, you talked about CM Punk. Yeah, I he was one of the wrestlers who like helped get me back into wrestling because I grew up in the 90s watching it, and then I got out of it around the Ruthless Aggression era. And then I got back into it in 2010, which was, the Divas era, the PG era, the CM Punk
Yeah.
era, however you want to call it. And that was actually, I felt like it was a pretty good era to get into because that's when like the rise of CM Punk really started to happen. Like I saw that whole storyline with him and John Cena at Money in the Bank when CM Punk won the title and left. That was like a really cool storyline, and that was a really fun time to get into it. I
Definitely.
also, because a lot of my friends got into it around like 2015 when that women's evolution happened, but I was into it with the AJ Lee and Paige and
Yes.
stuff like
Yeah.
that. So those are the women who really like got me into like women's wrestling because
Yeah, definitely.
I've always liked it, but it never really had, a big spotlight on it. And because of that, I felt like it kind of like made the fans think it wasn't important when it should
Right.
have been. And I felt like AJ Lee and Paige really like broke open and kicked those doors open and really helped, get fans in the women's wrestling like they are today. And I think that's a
Definitely.
great era to, to get into it and everything.
Yeah, for sure.
So you also mentioned you played the games. What were some of your favorite WWE games? I know some of them are like hit or miss.
I don't even remember the names of them because they were on like the Nintendo 64, but it's all like the really, really old school.
Okay.
It's like NWO and stuff like that. Yeah, it's like the really old school ones.
I remember because I had the N64. I had WWF Attitude. I remember that was a really good one.
Yeah.
And then I did start off with the PS1, and I think it was called WWF Warzone. But a lot of the old games are fun. I feel like I got out of it in recent years with the 2Ks and stuff like that. But I
Yeah.
did like the whole like showcase thing they had, and I think they took that away on one of them. But
Mhm.
I think they're fun. It's just I feel like they're all the same kind of,
Yeah,
nowadays.
definitely.
So now I want to learn about your character because I'm really interested in that. I saw some clips on YouTube and I want to know like what inspired your character.
So actually, I mean, now we're kind of going into this like pageant queen gimmick that I'm just starting up. So I actually grew up in beauty pageants from like 6 months old till I was about 7. I was in beauty pageants. So it was all like glitz and glam my entire life, dresses and crowns and sashes and all of that stuff. And then from there, I went straight into dancing. So I was a ballerina for like 13, 14 years. And so my entire life has just been like performing and glittery costumes and all that stuff. So I knew that if I was gonna have a character that was really me, it was gonna involve, all of that in some type of way.
Yeah, I think that's really cool that it relates to you and your history. And that's like the really cool thing about the indies because you could be whoever you want to be versus being in like a company that's kind of saying, hey, you got to do this kind of character and stuff like that. But I do think that's pretty dope. I'm really excited to see, some of your new stuff to see, how that all plays out and everything like that. But I have to ask because, I'm a guy, I've never been into that kind of stuff, but I did see the movie Save the Last Dance, which came out like 15 years ago. Are you familiar with that movie?
I'm not because I mean that came out probably when I was like 5 or 6, maybe younger.
Okay, yeah, that was all about dancing and stuff like that. And like I know because I know how like a lot of ballerinas do that thing where they stand on their like tippy, like their actual like
Yep.
toes,
Hmm.
and they show like her like bleeding and stuff like that on her
Hmm.
toes. It does like a lot of wear. Is that something you could do? And like,
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, I did that for a couple years. It's not fun. It's definitely really intense. I had many moments where I'd have to like put so many band-aids and just like wrap up my feet and stuff just to be able to do that type of dance, as it is a really intense form of dancing.
what kind of like exercises do you have to do to condition your like toes to be that strong?
Not anything too crazy. You just like put the point shoes on and kind of just like, exercise with them, move your ankles around and stuff like that, get used to being up like on point and stuff like that. It's not fun. I conditioned for that for like 3 months before even starting to get away from like holding on to the bar and stuff like that. So I mean it is pretty intense. Not fun, definitely.
Yeah, I can't imagine that being fun, but yeah, that's one of those things. Like when I saw that movie, I always kind of like wondered, but I never knew anyone who really did that dance and ballerina stuff, so I can never ask. But yeah, I'm one of those people. If I find out you do something that's interesting that a lot of people that I don't know like do, I'm going to ask those questions. So yeah, I
Yeah,
just
sure.
wanted to do that. And I also like one of the videos I saw, like I don't know if it was just like a one-time thing, but it was like prior to one of your matches, they showed like a little clip of you on a golf course, like golfing and stuff like that. Was that like a character you were doing, or is that just like a one-time kind of thing?
No, okay, so at the time I was feuding with a man named Dale Springs, and so that feud went on for a while in Elev8 Pro, which is my home promotion, and his character is a golfer, and so it was kind of in a way making fun of him while we were doing our feud.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. Like I couldn't like find anything else, but I didn't know if you were doing like a golfer kind of gimmick or something like that, or if that was just
Just
like
making fun of him.
fun of them. Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny. I thought that's pretty cool too that like Elevate they actually like will do recordings outside in random areas to kind of add to the
Mhm.
few kind of like what you see like in the mainstream wrestling WWE AEW. I feel like that could help like prep you for the bigger promotions and
Yeah,
television and
definitely.
stuff like this. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's real. I like it because it gives you an opportunity to really express your character, and they're open to letting me do whatever I want with my promos, and I always have a ton of fun with them. So I always try and find like new areas to film in.
Exactly, and I'm assuming that's where you train that as well.
Mhm.
Okay, so like tell me a little bit about the training there because I've never, from my knowledge, I've talked to anyone who's went through there, so I want to learn a little bit about their training system and everything.
Yeah, so I started at Elev8 Pro June 2019, and so we at the time we had two trainers. One training day would be like drills, and then the other training day would be like specifically just learning certain moves. We do a lot of conditioning and like I said, drills and stuff like that, and we train like twice a week, and it's really good training. We have a vet that's been in the business for like 20, 30 years, so it's really nice to learn from him because he does have a lot of knowledge. So yeah, I've always had tons of fun training at Elevate.
Yeah, and the one really cool thing about it that it also like not only can you train there, you could actually wrestle there and do live shows and stuff like that. What I think that's really cool because it gives you the opportunity to kind of like test out your training skills. And
Definitely.
I feel like that's also kind of like training, like being in front of an actual live crowd and doing all those video packages and
Hmm.
stuff like that too. So I feel like it's kind of the best of both worlds. You get to do both and stuff like that. So I
Yeah,
think that's
definitely.
pretty neat. So have they been doing anything during like the COVID, period? Kind of some promotions have been doing like outdoor stuff and all that.
Yeah, we actually so Louisiana wasn't allowing shows because we are under like an athletic commission. So we weren't allowed to do shows. We're actually doing our first show back in Louisiana July 24th. So I mean, yeah, we weren't really like we were able to train and stuff, but we definitely were not able to like really run shows. We did a show out in Mississippi in May, but besides that, this will be our first show back in like Louisiana since January of last year.
Oh wow, that's very similar to here in Maryland. There hasn't been anything at MCW since March of 2020, and their first show back is July 24th. But I think
Yeah.
I'm going to be at that show, so I'm really excited. But assuming that Elevate is, if that's something that you can watch on YouTube, I'm gonna definitely tune in to see
Yeah.
the match because I'm really excited just to kind of keep up with everyone I have on the show and all that. And like I said, I really want to see this character play out, so I'm excited for that as well.
Yeah, for sure.
So now I got a kind of an interesting question. So obviously, like getting into professional wrestling, you had this mindset on, how it's going to be like and what's going to be tough and what may not be tough. But what's that one thing that you feel like is really tough about getting into the wrestling business that a lot of people don't think about at the beginning?
It takes a lot of mental strength to be in the wrestling business. I was told a billion times that, you really have to be like, in a good headspace to be in the business. And I was always like, oh no, it'll be fine. But it really does take a lot out of you mentally. And as far as like regular just training goes, I mean, I have my days where it's like really just difficult to get in that mindset. But yeah, I'd say mainly it's really like this. It's not only a physical thing. It's really like a mental thing. And it takes a long time to get into that headspace.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, everyone knows getting into wrestling is going to take a toll on you physically and stuff like that. But a lot of people don't think about the mental thing. And I could just like imagine, like, because I've talked to different wrestlers and I've heard their frustration. Like when it comes to getting bookings, for example, like sometimes that could be really stressful. Like I've seen a wrestler a while ago. This was before COVID. She was kind of complaining that the promotions in her area weren't booking her, so she had to travel farther to kind of like get
Right.
bookings and stuff like that. So stuff like that can be stressful. Like this promotion, you're 10 minutes away from me. Why won't you book me? And kind of
But
stuff.
yeah,
So I get
right. It is. It does get a bit difficult at times. Yeah, for sure.
yeah, because that's the thing. Like, when you're in the indies, you kind of have to get your bookings versus being like on a contracted company like WWE, you guarantee get the paychecks and stuff like that. So
Right.
I understand like the stress that you all go through and everything.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, two more questions that I have for you. So this one is, you kind of already told me a little bit about it, but or something like that. But what is one thing about you that is non-wrestling related that you would want people to know about you? It could be an accomplishment, a hobby. I know you told me that you did dance and ballerina and stuff like that. But what else about you that you feel like you would want people to know?
I am a professional makeup artist. So most days, if I'm not wrestling, I'm typically working on like special effects makeup and stuff like that.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Have you ever done anything for like any kind of like like movies or anything like that?
Not yet because I'm still like kind of in school for makeup, but I definitely have opportunities lined up and I can easily get them. So I am working on movies and shows.
That's really cool. So like stuff like even like zombies and stuff like that as well. That's
Mhm.
really dope. Like I feel like that's something
Thank
that
you.
can not only benefit you like outside of wrestling, but even in wrestling, like you could
In wrestling
always
too,
do
yes, definitely.
something for yourself. Like if you wanted to do some kind of demonic character, Jeff Hardy stuff
Right.
or whatever like that, you could do.
Yeah, for
I think
sure.
that's cool. I just I'm never good at that kind of stuff. Like I just could not like do these designs that some of these wrestlers do, like Jeff Hardy, for example, like just all these crazy designs on your face and all that. I think that's really cool. I feel like that's also like you don't really see that much in wrestling as you used to back in the day with like the
Right.
mask and face paint and all that kind of stuff. But I
Hmm.
always like get excited when I see it. So I really dig that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's definitely really cool to see like different people coming up with different like styles of paint and SFX and stuff like that. I always enjoy it because it's like one of the main things that I'm into.
Yeah, and considering the fact that that is something that you're into, have you ever thought about doing something like that with yourself?
Oh, definitely. I've always like tried to think of some type of way to bring it into wrestling. I'm not like 100% sure on it quite yet, but there is a possibility. If I ever do some like Halloween show or something like that, then for sure I'll bring it.
Oh yeah, definitely doing it, for a Halloween, show is definitely like a good way to experiment with it because you have an excuse to do it
Right.
versus like having the actual change your character. And if it doesn't work out,
Definitely.
you're kind of like, oh no, like, you could say, hey, it's Halloween, I'm just doing this. So it's
Right.
yeah. So now my last and final question for you. If you had the opportunity to have a WrestleMania match with WWE, obviously, and you could choose anyone to be your opponent, it doesn't have to be someone in WWE, it could be AEW, Impact, Indies. Like, who would you want to go toe to toe with in the ring?
Alexa Bliss, definitely.
Cool. So I know Alexa Bliss, she kind of had that glamorous kind of gimmick like early in her NXT days and stuff like that. But what about her makes you choose her over everyone else?
So I had gotten out of wrestling for a little bit whenever I was like 15 or 16. And so whenever I was getting back into wrestling at, I'd say maybe 17, Alexa was like, you know, really getting up there. And so I was just completely fascinated by her because whenever I was younger, it was AJ Lee, you know, we were the same size. And so she inspired me at the time. And then whenever I got back into wrestling, it was Alexa. And so I've just always been like inspired and amazed by Alexa. So I think that's why.
Yeah, Alexa Bliss is really awesome. And fun fact, I've actually met her twice and she's extremely sweet. But
Really?
she really like impressed me because they didn't really have her do that much in NXT. Like she wasn't one of the, top tier stars. And when she
Right.
came to the main roster, she really like elevated to the top like really quickly. And it just seems like anything they give her, she kills it. And I know a lot of fans have like given her a hard time. Oh, she's blonde, she's pretty. That's why. No,
Right.
she does one of the most important things that at least me, I feel like that you need to be like successful like in WWE is the mic skills. Like
Yes,
if you can
definitely.
talk on the mic, you are money in Vince's eyes. Like that is such an important trait to have like when you're in WWE, and she can do it. And her character work is also like phenomenal. Like
Oh
this
yeah, for sure.
Bray Wyatt stuff that she's doing is just like amazing and I love it. Like and
Right.
I feel like she still doesn't get enough credit. And
She doesn't know because
she's
she's amazing. Like you said, on the mic, her character, just everything about her, like, is really amazing. And that's one of the main reasons she inspires me so much.
Yeah. And she's also like really dedicated to the company. Like the second time I met her, I wasn't supposed to meet her. It was supposed to be Ricochet at a meet and greet, and something happened where he had to back out last minute. So she actually came from another meet and greet that was an hour away, came from, did that and then came here and
Yeah.
met, everyone else. So she pulled double duty and she didn't have to do that. Like people
Right.
who are really dedicated to the promotion that they're in, they also deserve a lot of credit, and that plays a role in, how people get pushed too. Like, you got to look at
Yeah.
it like at your job. If you have this worker doing all these extra things and stuff like that, that increases their chance of getting promotions, raises and stuff like that. And she is
Yeah,
very
definitely.
loyal and just a hard worker.
Yeah, for sure.
So Amaris Blair, that was really fun. I was really excited to learn about your character and your
Yeah,
training
for
and
sure.
everything like that. So I just have to thank you for joining us today on O Face Wrestling.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. No problem at all. Do you want to share your social media and everything for all the listeners?
Yeah, for sure. So my Twitter is Amaris Blair with an extra I in Blair. Facebook and Instagram are both Amaris Blair. And then for merch, you can just contact me through any of my social medias.
Sweet. Make sure that you all give her the follows. I will put all the links in the bio below. And also make sure you sub us on YouTube, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Thank you all for tuning in, and you all have a great day.